Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of So Chatty with Stephen and Walter. And this is episode number 171 for January the 23rd, 2025. I'm just getting over a little fall in the ice and the snow, and I lost my M&Ms. And that's not an expression, I actually did. We went to the bulk barn. I got a bag of mini M&Ms, like $20 worth of M&Ms, and I slipped on the ice, went down on my rear end, and my bag broke, and I lost all my M&Ms. So I had to go back in and buy another $20 worth of M&Ms. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. But anyways, only me could
Only
these
a
things.
trained Canadian would fall in the snow.
Well, they were concerned in the store when we came back in because they're not sure whose responsibility it was to salt the ice. And ironically, there was a salt thing right next to where I slipped. But anyways, it's okay. We got a new bed coming. More about that next week. All right, let's see what we've been working on, or what I've been working on, and then I'll show you what Walter's been working on. So here's what I've been working on. This is a Quilt of Valor quilt, and way back in, when was that? The summer? That we were, no, it was in the fall.
In the fall.
In the early fall, when we were invited to the Quilts of Valor Sew Group's day, when they gave my quilt, presented my quilt that day, and they had these kits made up of pre-cut pieces to make more Quilts of Valor tops. Well, we didn't quite get it done when we were there, so I said, well, I'd take it home, and they said, well, you didn't have to, somebody else would finish it. And I said, no, I'll take it home and I'll finish it. And I said, no, I'll put a backing on it. I'll layer it and put a backing on it, and I'll quilt it. So I finally got around to quilting it this week. So it's all done. And I did maple leaf and swirls quilting. Well, Lucy did, my long arm. I just told her what I wanted. And because I thought this was kind of a plain looking quilt, as is, I added some appliqued maple leaves to it using the same fabrics. In real life, they actually stand out a little better, but this is not really your traditional, or what I would consider your traditional colors for a Quilt of Valor, like for a Canadian one. Red and white, but
people might be getting bored of red.
well, maybe. Well, they made up the kits, and this was the one we selected. So anyways, I'll get that to them at some point in time. Don't know when, but that's why I'm glad that one's done. I have one more quilt sitting out there with Lucy that needs to be quilted. Maybe I'll get to that next week. That's the one with the little houses on it that I showed you that I worked on during the retreat. That's the Missouri Star quilt, little houses with doors and things pattern that came in the Christmas box this year. Anyways, Walter's got a show.
Okay, so I've got this shirt almost done. I just have to put the buttons on it. So the rest of it's done. Well, that's not very good, because I can't do the buttons up. So anyway,
Well, it's a shirt.
Yeah,
There you go. The back of the shirt.
And it's got a tropical theme, and it's got leopards on
If you look
it.
closely, you can see the leopards.
Yeah. So I kind of like the material. I bought it a while ago. Actually, I bought the fabric at Kawartha Quilting. So, and it's a Robert Kaufman print. I'm not sure which one, but
You got a string loose.
yeah.
Don't pull it. You can unravel your whole quilt or your whole shirt. Anyways, well, that's nice. And yeah, that one's not for me. That's for Walter. Although it would probably look better on me because everything does. It really does. I strongly suggest everybody agree with that. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we have to show you for this week at the moment. Reminders, well, there's Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen on Wednesdays as always, except this week coming up, we will be minus Stephanie because Stephanie is off on a Caribbean cruise.
Must be nice.
Yeah, with Stitch in Heaven. She and her aunt are going on that one as well. And they're just onboard celebrities. I don't think Stephanie is teaching on that particular cruise. I think there's another couple of ladies that don't know who they are myself. It means nothing to me, their names, but whatever. Maybe some people it does. And if you're that interested, you can go on to Stitch in Heaven's website and check it out. But anyway, she's going along with that. I think there's the potential to, she likes the cruise. Well, what's not to like? But if everything in the way Stitch in Heaven does things, that she may be doing future cruises as their guest teacher down the road. So yeah, so I'm sure she will have pictures from the cruise and everything that she'll show on her channel when she gets back. So Wednesday, it'll only be little old me. And yeah, we'll see how that works out. And maybe not have anybody show up to go, oh, it's just you. We were expecting Stephanie. Whatever. Okay. So that takes us. Anything else that you want to tell them right now at this point, this
No.
juncture in time?
No.
No, nothing too exciting. Okay. So this week we're carrying on with our Kindred Creatures wall hanging in the hoop project. Last week we showed how to stitch out the tiles, and there are 12 tiles in total. And as you know, I'm doing one kind of color wave and Walter's doing a different color wave. And when we get them all together, we will show you both of them. And I've already got a spot where I think I'm going to put both of them over right behind Walter's shoulder. There's a spot over there where I can take down a couple of things and they'll fit over there. And I'll just let you know a little secret, but I'm not going to show it to you. I have finished mine. Mine's completely done. But anyways, so this week we're going to show you how to put the tiles together. As I said, there are 12 tiles, and then there's some applique flowers as well. So we have done a video. We did it several times because sometimes Walter had the camera on, sometimes he didn't. Sometimes Walter had the camera, no, he started to do it all in portrait mode, not landscape. I wasn't thrilled.
I wasn't thinking, so.
I wasn't thrilled. Can't get good help. Really can't.
No.
No, he's just eye candy,
I was
people.
just not in tune to it.
Yeah, you're just eye candy. When it comes to the technical
Yeah,
part, that sucks. Anyways, we did get a video together and to show you. And we talk about the tips and tricks for getting your tiles so that they're as even as you can get them, because they overlap. And it is tricky to do that. But we hopefully in the video, you will see how we do that and it'll be clear to you. And then we're going to, after you've seen the video, we'll come back and just reinforce some of the tips in case they weren't clear to you in the video. And then one other thing to tell you about, or something I want to clarify at the end of today, that has nothing really to do with quilting or sewing and has everything to do though with the YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. So now here's the next part, putting your tiles together. It's had a frustrating little session here because all the video we just did before this, Walter did it in portrait mode, not in landscape mode, and that's no good. So we're going to start again. But I have a bunch of pieces already sewn together because that's what we did in the first one. So this is what we're trying to achieve here. We are trying to put our pieces together into a row. This is row number 1. You can see I've already got them sewn together, and you'll notice the joins. And this is the tricky part, is getting it lined up. Now, are you going to get it perfectly lined up? No, but as long as you get it pretty close, that's about the best you can hope for. Now, in the case of these ones, I got these pretty close on here. In fact, almost dead on. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, we've already sewn 1, 2, 3 rows together. So we're going to work on the 4th row, and here are my pieces. Make sure you have them in the right order and in the right way facing up. And that's the way we go. So we're going to put that one off to the side. We're going to take this one, and we're going to put right sides together. Now, in here, though, before I do that, very difficult to see on camera, there is a stitch line all the way around in here in black because it matches the background, which makes it very difficult to see. But that's the way it is for this particular piece. And so you see what I'm talking about is this line and this line that goes around. And so this is our seam allowance out here. It's a little bit more generous than what we usually do. Most of the time we do a 1/4 inch seam. On something like this, they usually want you to do 1/2 inch seam. If by chance you forgot and you put a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're still okay with it. So we have 1/2 inch. We're going to put right sides together. And now on this side, if you look, you can see that black line going all the way around here. Now, in some cases, there's a double line because that's just the way the pattern worked. But what we want is this inside one that goes all the way around the perimeter. And we're going to take a pin, a straight pin, And we're going to place the straight pin on the top piece right in that corner of those two lines. And we're going to find the corresponding mark on this piece. This is what makes it difficult to see.
So that's where the two black lines intersect,
Yeah,
right?
right there. And we're going to put that pin right in that corner. Okay. Now, if we had any of this embroidery that needed to be matched up, we would put, and probably will in the next piece I'll show you, but we would put a pin into each of those on the side of where the embroidery line comes up. So let's pretend this one had been extended up here. I would put my pin right in. It would be coming up to this line though, but I put my pin right here on the outside of it, and I would find the corresponding spot on the embroidery on the other side. It would have been clearer if we'd had the first one that we did. Actually, let me show you what I'm talking about. I can probably show you. Where's that first piece? Here. What I'm talking about is when embroidery lines go over across the two pieces. So here, what I would have done is I would have lined up my first corner, and then I would have taken the pin and found this piece of embroidery line that extends over the perimeter line, the border line, and I put it right in along that black line and right next to the embroidery.
On the corresponding piece, right?
Yeah, and then go through and find that same mark on the part underneath it, and that helps to line those up. We don't have to worry about that on this particular piece. I'm going to repin this because I pulled that out, because we don't have any any embroidery going across the two pieces. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so we're going to pin the other corner. Same thing, find that intersection, find the corresponding, put in. And then I'm going to take my clips, and I'm going to clip the two pieces together. Now I can take the pins out. Now you see I'm doing this on a wool mat. I like to do it on something soft that my pin can go through to anchor it. It's much more difficult to get your pins in if you're trying to go in from the side, if you're doing it on a flat surface. So if you've got a wool mat or something with a cushion to it, use that sort of like a giant pin cushion. It'll make it easier. And then you're going to take these out. Now you say, well, why use the pins? Why don't you just use the clips? Because I can't get those points as accurately with the clips as I can with the pins. So I'll take those out, and we take this over to the sewing machine. So we'll go over to the sewing machine and we'll show you how we sew these together. So I am using invisible thread or monofilament thread, poly. It's a polyester. I use Superior. I like it the best. And the reason I'm using the invisible thread is because when I sew along here, I have to get very close to this line, this outside line, the one that I was using as my guide for pinning. And if I go a little bit off, it won't be noticeable on the other side. You won't see it. So I do have invisible thread in my bobbin, and I do have invisible thread as my top thread as well. Now my foot. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch foot on my sewing machine because I'm most comfortable with that. But you can use any foot that you want, but you're going to have to know where your needle is going to fall in relationship to that line. So I know on this foot, this inside the foot right here, is where I want to use that as my guide right against that border seam that we've been using to line up the pieces with. And turn the light back on. So I like to start with my needle down, my foot up, because this very first part, I don't have any line. I have to kind of eyeball it to make sure my foot is as close as I think. So I'm looking at that right now. So basically I'm going about 1 stitch width on the inside of that line. You may want to slow your machine down when you're doing this, especially your first few times. Okay, cut my thread. Now, if all's gone well, I should be lined up pretty good. So let's see. And I am. And the way I can tell is I have these two lines. These are my lines which will get buried in the seam allowance when we sew the rows together. But I can see that those two are right up against each other, and those two as well. Now, if there was a piece of the embroidery that was going over here, the two pieces should match up like it did on that very first piece I showed you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew the next panel onto this using the same method. We won't put that on camera. And
well, maybe you should, because
what?
then you can show
Oh,
the
I could show
intersection.
these ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll do that. So that's what we'll do now.
We are. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to sew the last piece onto here. Now, in this one's case, we do have some overlap in the embroidery. If you notice, this petal of the flower comes out past our border line, and it does here too. Now, we want this one and this one to match up, and that one ideally. So we're going to put them right sides together again, but we're going to take a pin and we're going to find that. And it's hard to see on the back of these, but there is one yellow line right there. And there's my stitch line is along there. So I'm just going to put my pin in along that stitch line and right against, not into it, but right against the outside of that embroidered line. It's very thin, very difficult to see. And I'm going to match it up with this one. There's our line. There's the yellow piece of embroidery I'm trying to match up. So I'm going to take the pin, put it on the outside and into that line. And there we should be lined up. So now we just need to match up the corners as we did in the first piece. I'm having trouble seeing my corner. Where's it? There it is there. It's easy to put these in the wrong spot. So.
And you're doing it right on the black line on both of those.
And now I have a problem. For some reason, I think I put it in the wrong spot. I did, because I saw another line here, and that's, yeah, this is the line I want here. Very difficult to see. Down into there. There we go. And another one in the opposite corner. Then we're going to clip it. Now, if you do other ones of these ones with tiles in them, sometimes some of them are very easy to line up because it's very clear. This one is not one of those ones that's very clear. But you just make sure that you've got the right spots all lined up. Okay, I've got my clips in. And we're going to take it back. All right. I'm having trouble seeing the line, the right line on this piece, because you can see there's a whole bunch of different lines here. So if that's the case, what you can do is take a ruler and a pencil, and you can find the line that you need to be able to see better. Put your ruler on it, and then mark it with your pencil. Now, no one's going to see the back, so it doesn't matter. There, now I can see my line, so I know where to line pieces up. So, again, I'm going to find that inside on that line, that piece of embroidery right here, and find the matching spot here, put the pin in it. Go to the corner, I can't see that line, so I'm going to have to darken that too. I might as well do this one on this side as well, although it's a little bit more visible, but might as well do it. Okay, so intersection point is right there, corresponding one there. That's better. And do the same on this side. Okay, then we're going to clip it. And I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and do what I've shown you already, so we don't need to put that part on the camera. But then when we come back, we're going to show you how to put the rows together. Okay, so I have this together. Now, you're going to find that these are going to be pretty stiff. Like, this is really pretty stiff. So for this piece, they recommend that you press them open to have less bulk when you put it all together. I don't always do that, but in the case of this, I am going to do it because that seam is really bulky because there's a lot of things happening in there. So I'm just peeling it back with my fingers to get it started, and then we're going to use some steam. Flatten that down well. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with this seam. Now this one isn't quite as bulky because there was an embroidery going across it. And yes, you can see the embroidery in the seam line as well. That's what makes it bulky. If you want to give it a little bit of an extra little oomph, you can now take it and press it on this side. Okay, so once you have all the rows across this way together, you want to start attaching just like you would in a quilt. So there is row number 1, and this is row number 2. And so basically, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put right sides together and we're going to find intersection points, but we're going to find slightly different intersection points. We're going to start with the seams. And we can see, now this is where if you wanted to, you could take a chalk marker, because I'm using black here, find that one seam, go straight across, or even in this case, I probably don't need to. I can do it just with the ruler. I'm going to go in the center of the open seam, right along that border line. Put that in, and I'm going to find the seam on the other side, and I'm going to stick it right in the middle of the seam along that border line. I'm going to do the same thing with the next seam. So find the right one. Okay. That in there. Go through and find the corresponding. There. So now I will do the corners. Oh, except that I do have, using really straight pins helps. I've got some bent ones, okay. I do have these pieces that are going across. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find my border line and go right beside the embroidery. Not into it, just beside it. And do that in a couple of spots. So this one, and it goes right in there. Okay, that keeps things lined up. Again, it may not come out perfect. Close enough is good. I like to put a clip in at the seams, at the open seams as well. Oh, I forgot to do, I didn't do the corners. I want to do the corners. It probably would have lined up okay, but just to be on the safe side. Sometimes you have to do a little finagling. Now, where is the seam line? Right there. Okay. If your pins were really crooked, like not like this, but if you could tell, like it means you haven't pinned in the right spot. If everything's kind of shifting around, these are okay. My pins are just a little bent, but okay. Once it's clipped, take out your pins. We're going to take it to the sewing machine. Again, we don't need to record this because I'm just going to follow.
One of your pins are still in.
I'm going to just follow the seam just on that line, just on the very inside, about a thread's width. And then we'll open it up and we'll see how well we did. Okay, so I have it stitched down. Now, just something I want to say before I open this up. When you get to these joins with your foot, you may find you'll need a hump jumper, or you can use a walking foot with these. And in fact, these were really thick. I had to go slow, and I had to put my stiletto under the back of the foot. If I'd used a walking foot, it would have been better for that, because you've got quite a few layers here that you're going through. And if there's any, like on here, that's a big lump, because that's a lot of embroidery in there as well. So just be careful of that, and slow down your machine when you hit those, or you have a danger of breaking a needle. Okay, let's open this up and see how we did. Now it's a very stiff seam. You did pretty good, though, I would say. That one's off just by a hair. And that one's off by a little bit more than a hair. But I'm not going to worry about those, because you'll also see when I press this and press the seam open, that those may slide together a little bit closer, a little bit. These are really, really thick seams. In fact, I think this is the first one I've ever made where I've had seams this thick. Because usually they're not this thick. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't use steam because you're afraid of shrinking things, don't worry about it. This will not shrink. So you can give it as much steam as you want. Now, don't get too uptight that these might be a little uneven, because that has to do with the cutting of them and everything. No one's going to see it. That's perfectly all right. And yeah, that one's a little off. That one's a little off. Yeah. But generally speaking, it's pretty close. I'm not going to worry about taking it apart for that, because, you know, when it's all together, no one's going to really look at that and say, oh, you're off by a millimeter. If they do, they're not your friend. Okay, so that's the procedure you would do for the next 2 rows. And then all we have to do after that is attach our flowers. And we have not decided yet whether we're going to sew them. We have little spots here that the machine, when it was stitching these out, put these in so we know where to put these pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little triangle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was just looking here. I'm looking at this. See this cat's head?
Yeah.
No, I got them in the right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. That's the middle 2 pieces. That's not the top piece.
No, that's not the top piece. Okay, yeah, right. Here, this is the piece that'll go up there. Yeah. I just put I was having a heart attack here. I thought I put the wrong pieces in the wrong order. But yeah. So next week, Walter will have his sewn together. I will have mine all sewn together. And then we will talk about finishing it. And that means putting your backing on. And there's a couple of ways you can do this as well, if you want to do a binding or whatever. I'm going to do it. I haven't decided yet. I have to look in the instructions whether I'm going to do it as one of those, the pillowcase idea where you turn it inside out, or I'm going to actually do a hand binding on it. We'll see. That's to be determined next week. Okay. I hope this wasn't too confusing. Okay, so you can see if this is the first time you've ever done one of these, it can be a little tricky. I know the first time that I put one together, I did not use the pins the way I was showing you in the video. I just tried to eyeball it, and that did not work out well. So I highly recommend pinning it, and pinning it in the way that I showed you. Don't try putting your pins in from the sides. Put them straight down and then use your clips afterwards and to hold it all together and take the pins out. I found that was the best way to get it lined up. Now, are you going to get it perfectly lined up? You are not. There will be parts that'll be just slightly off, but when the whole thing's together, unless you point those out to somebody, or somebody's got an eagle eye like Walter and takes great delight in saying, oh, that does not match up. And that's when you hit them over the head with something heavy and move on. But no one will notice with that. But I really recommend that. And I also highly recommend, and I know people have mixed feelings about using invisible thread, but I highly recommend using invisible thread. Yes, invisible thread can be a bitch to work with, especially when it comes to threading your machine, because I use Superior. It is a polyester monofilament. It's 100 weight. So, I mean, not only is it pretty much clear, but it's so fine that it is very difficult to see, especially if you've got eyes like most of us at this age, in this age bracket, do. But it works really well for, you know, if you're not quite on the lines that I showed you in the video, nobody notices because it's hidden. Also, if you use a matching color for the background, you can get away with it, but you probably won't have an exact match. Even if you're using like black, like in this one's case, you use a black thread, it'll still be somewhat visible, not glaringly so, like as if you used white on black, but it'll still be there, whereas the invisible melts right into it. You never see it. So I highly recommend putting up with the hassle of threading with monofilament threads, because the end result will be worth the effort. So I hope that was clear. And as I said, once you've done one, all the other tiled seams go together the same way. It's the same method with it. So next week, we're going to show you finishing, and that means putting a backing on this, and whether or not we should put a traditional binding on it or do the kind of thing, which I never know what that's called, but you know, I think somebody called it once the hot dog or the hamburger roll or something like that, you know, where basically you put right sides of your backing with the right side of your top together, sew all the way around the perimeter, leave a gap, pull everything through, poke out your corners, and then sew up the gap. Well, that's the way I've done mine. But I have reasons for doing it that way. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just do a traditional binding. It's up to you. And in fact, I was looking at the instructions this morning. They usually give you a suggestion as to how they want you to put it together. They didn't. In this set of instructions, well, that's what they do on Sweet Pea and Designs by Juju. This is OESD, and I don't, OSSD, sometimes their instructions are a little lacking. So, yeah. Plus, there probably wasn't enough product they could sell you for finishing it up, so they just decided not to tell you how to do that. I don't know. They seem to really want to flaunt a lot of stabilizers, as you well know, when we started this series. Okay, any tips, tricks, anything you want to say about putting it together? You haven't done it yet, have you?
Not yet.
I'll have to help you.
Well, I can do it.
Okay, fine. Probably do it better. Yeah, it always happens that way. Okay, so as I said, next episode, finishing it. And then we'll finish the series. So that means our next series will be probably bag making. We have to plan that out yet. So there could be a lull. There might be a week where between the end of this one and when we start the next one, where maybe I'll do some little short thing or something like that. I don't know. Depends on timing. There's lots of things to do, not enough time to do them yet. All right, so some final thoughts here. Okay, elephant in the room about my videos. Last Saturday on Stephen and Walter Live, yes, we did a number on Trump, on the politics of things. We did not hold back our punches at all. That upset some people. Some people did unsubscribe from my channel, and quite frankly, that is all right. I'm not worried about that. If they've decided that they can't handle that, then they can't handle that. They don't need to be here. Um, However, a couple of people said, well, they didn't expect on a quilting channel that there'd be any talk of politics. This is not completely a quilting channel, so I want to make a couple of things clear. I've gone over this before, but I'm going to do it again. I produce four videos a week, and each set of videos, or each video type, there's types, focus on something slightly different. Yes, there is overlap between all four, and that overlap does tend to lean towards sewing and quilting. But on Mondays, I do my vlog. My vlog, although I may show you very quickly some of the projects that I've been working on, I give those to you as a sneak preview. On Tuesday, when I do Idiot Quilter, I go into them in more depth. I focus on the vlog on, well, just the name of it alone. A vlog, when vlogs first started up, they're a video log. People, they came out of the world of blogs, okay, where people just spewed forth whatever they wanted to spew forth. And then it went to video and they became vlogs, but it's the same stuff. And so I spew forth. I spew forth about what I'm watching on YouTube that I think will be interest to other people. Those videos that I talk about are not about quilting. I do not do ones about sewing or quilting. I do other ones like about 3D printing or about upcoming movies or books or things I just found interesting on there. I have a part that's called What's Pissing Me Off. Now, I started that as a joke way back when I started vlogs, and people seemed to like it. And then I thought about getting rid of it, and I had many people send me emails and messages, comments saying they didn't. They loved that part. So I do it. In the one I did this week, I did a follow-up on what we talked about in Stephen and Walter Live. Because it just so happened my vlog came out on the same day as the inauguration of the new president in the United States. So I thought it was timely for that. But it is my channel. And what I decide to do and what I decide to talk about is totally and solely up to me. Except on Stephen and Walter Live, then it's between the two of us. Usually I make a suggestion and Walter says whether or not he thinks we should do it. So he takes editorial precedent over that. So some people were very disturbed that I wasn't talking about quilting and that there was no place on my channel for not talking about quilting then. I am not a quilting channel. That is one aspect. That's Idiot Quilter on Tuesdays. That whole part is about quilting and sewing. So Chatty is about quilting and sewing. However, it's a little broader than that. We talk about topics of interest in the quilting sewing community. Like we've done ones about trending colors and fabrics. We've done ones about shopping. We've done things like that. They're related, but they are a little broader. Also, we do tutorials or demos. Maybe they're better called as demos, I think, like what we're doing right now with the wall hanging. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter Live on Sundays is a free-for-all. It does not necessarily have to do with quilting and sewing, although many times it does lead into that, but we feed off of the comments that our audience brings to that. And so we never know where we're going to go. Usually have a basic idea of something we want to talk about. Sometimes we get to it, sometimes we don't. So it's kind of a combination of all the other three channels in some ways. But as I said, it is really based upon our audience and what they want to talk about. So I'm sorry if you're one of those people that got upset because you thought my channel was all about quilting. I do not take kindly to people telling me what I should do on my channel. Armchair critics are not welcome. People with positive attitudes and constructive criticism are. So I lost a few people, not crying over it. How many did I lose? It looks like, according to my numbers, I may have lost 6, but I've gained about 12. So am I worried? No. Another thing that doesn't bother me is that when people unsubscribe is I would rather have you not be subscribed if this is not your cup of tea. Why waste your time? Why would you do that? No one's twisting your arm. Okay. Try me out. If you don't like it after a while, unsubscribe. That's what I do. I go to other ones I have found that are new and go, oh, this sounds interesting. And I'll watch a few of the videos and we'll make up
And
my
then when
mind.
they go wacko, you unsubscribe.
I usually do when they go wacko. Maybe that's what the problem was. People thought I was going wacko. No, I wasn't going wacko. I'm not going to get into the politics, and I'm going to try and stay away from the politics because we've all been inundated with that conversation for months and months now, and we're tired of it. All of us are. We're tired of it. You're tired of it. The world is tired of it. So let's move on from it.
But there may be times where
it
may come up because something has happened radical that has affected our lives. So.
And you want to know something? That's our prerogative to talk about it or not to talk about it. It is nobody else's decision. Okay. So those people who got really uptight with the whole thing and basically said they were unsubscribing from my channel because they just can't abide by it, fine, but we don't live to your mandate.
Okay. Find a channel that works better for you.
Yeah, go for it. No one's twisting your arm with it.
Or make up your own channel and only talk about quilting.
Yeah, and there's the kicker, isn't it? People all have lots to say about things, but until let's go to your channel and see what you're talking about. Oh, don't have one? Why is that? Oh, can't handle the criticism? That's a problem. Delete key. There's always the delete key, as I say. So anyways, I just thought I would say that here and now because to let you know how it works. Okay, I think that's it. Nothing more this week. The links for everything we've talked about are in the show notes as well. And yeah, so next week we finish this project. Okay, have a great week. Maybe see you on Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And anyways, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.
Bye.